All right. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back. Welcome back. Good to be back. Hang on a second. I don't think I got my comments working here. I hope I do. We'll have to see if this comes through or not. But, okay. Happy Monday, first of all. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you had a great past week, because it's been a week since we've done a live stream. I've been doing a lot of thinking and a lot of soul searching, a lot of kind of reflecting. And, let's not bury the lead here. Just what I have on the title here is just, I don't think I want to be a web designer anymore, which is really strange, because it's basically been something that I've done for the past 20 years. And the more I've been thinking about, like this week, when I took this week off, I really spent a lot of time thinking about what are the types of things that I enjoy doing, what are the types of things that I would want to do in the future and that I'd want to do, maybe not so much for the rest of my life, but even at least for the next few years. And, web design has just never been one of the things that has been on the top of my mind, which is, again, it's just been very interesting. So we're going to get into here in just a second. I just want to see if I can turn things over here for getting these comments going. Okay, so we have this going on. I know some stuff has been disconnected. Let me stop this here. I hope things are still going through. I do see there's a couple of people here that are watching. Thank you so much for joining. If you can, I would just love it. Or maybe I could test. I'll test I should be able to test a comment. Oh, there we go. Okay. Leo, how's it going? Welcome. Is this an I Quit stream? No, this is absolutely not an I Quit stream, because this is one of the things that I've been thinking about, is that I enjoy so much this process of just like making videos, talking on camera, all that kind of stuff. And when the time comes where I have to sit down and have to do some design work and stuff, I'm just like, I don't really want to be doing this. I'd rather be doing X, Y, Z, right? So no, it's definitely not an I Quit stream. No, absolutely not. So, maybe it's the suspense is gone from that. But let's just go through this here, because I put together a little bit of thing. I don't have this thing completely finished here, but I have a little bit of thoughts that I've been writing down, because things still aren't really fleshed out in terms of where I want to go from here. And of course, the big thing, how am I going to make money, all that kind of stuff, which of course is a huge thing, especially when you're in business. What is it that you're going to do to make money? So, and things are going to be a little bit more of a transition than anything. So let's just give a little bit of a recap of what the current goals that I've developed here over the past 2 years since I started Pixel and went full time into just starting this own business. So of course, this is kind of the plan that was developed for what we were going to do for the rest of 2024 and then into 2025, with the goal of hitting a revenue of $250,000 at the end of next year for all 2025. And going over the numbers here, since I started the company, I don't know the exact numbers, but we've made, I think it's between $160,000 to $170,000 in revenue. So it's good. It's not like it's been a bad thing. It's been a really good run, I guess you can say, in terms of actually being able to generate revenue, which is really good. I'm really super thankful for that. And, and of course there's avenues to keep kind of going there. But again, from taking the time to really think about what it is that I want to do and what is the direction that I think I want to head, it's like I'm seeing myself a few years down the road, and just continually going through this process of making websites. I feel like it's just not quite there for me. So, but before we get into that, here's kind of the summary of what the plan was. Number one, to create, it was like, how do we get people to Pixel, and how do we get people to know that I offer web design services? So it's going to be, number one, we're going to create a podcast, and we're going to feature local entrepreneurs, and we're going to talk about their struggles and ups and downs and in the realm of starting their own business or what have you, right? So the idea, of course, is we start reaching out to local people, start talking about what it is they do, and then, of course, offering our solutions. People just kind of know who we are, or the Pixel. We're running the entrepreneurship podcast, but then also, if you need a website, call me or whatever. And then the other aspect, of course, is Pixel Pieces and creating an online educational content. So I was making YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff around educating people on how to build websites, how to design websites, and specifically going into the Webflow niche and teaching all those kinds of things. So, and then the third thing, of course, is just growing this YouTube channel, and that's this live stream, and then, just slowly but surely building an audience and building a following. So that was kind of the plan, and it's a good plan. I think it works really, really well. But of course, the problem with that plan is that at the end of the day, I just feel like I don't really enjoy the process of making websites. Back when I first started, I loved the creative process because it was a creative thing. I could figure out how I could take some things that I love about design and art or what have you and apply it to computers and technology. And it was amazing. And I was learning about it. I spent all day, all night just reading up on it, practicing, making new websites, doing all that kind of stuff. And I really, really enjoyed the process. And then over time, I don't know if it's one of those things where you've just been doing it for so long that I guess that joy and that wonder has just kind of went away. And it's just more of like, well, this is just kind of what I do and I'm pretty good at it and I could just, do it for money and whatever the case may be. So I think something like that kind of happened. And it's almost as if like, okay, you know what? I've done that. Maybe there's something else that I can do to get a little bit of more fulfillment from the work that I do. And maybe there's something else that I can do that could help provide value to the world, basically. So, but all of that being said, it's really important to remember, and this is really fundamental for what I'm thinking now, is that obviously right now I have clients and this is the way that I'm generating money. So it's not as if I'm going to be closing down shop or anything like that. And the things that I do, it's like I love everything that I do, except for the nitty gritty of sitting down and just actually having to go ahead and like design a website or whatever. Those are the things that are not like I do it and it's fine, but it's not like it's the best thing for me. Like I love my clients. I love talking to them. I love having meetings with them, thinking about their problems. I love solving those problems and figuring out how they can incorporate these new technologies into their business. How could they make things run more smoothly? I love all of that stuff. But when it comes to like, okay, now you just have to do the nitty gritty. It's like once the problem itself has been solved, then it's just like the implementation, then it's just kind of boring. So thinking about that and talking about it out loud, it's like if I just had even somebody on my team that I could just delegate that work to, then that could be something that could be very helpful to me. So you like everything but the work. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like that. I mean, you could joke around and maybe say like a little tongue in cheek. Kind of, but I mean, the interaction there's so much more to building a website than just designing it, right? It's again, you're trying to do the strategy, you're trying to figure out why you need a website, what needs to be on it, all those kinds of stuff, all those things that you have to put forth the thought into it. That's the stuff that I really love doing. But then it's just that, okay, well, now we just have to go ahead and code it or whatever. I've done that so much for the past 20 years. It's just kind of like, it's not the best. So Jennifer, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. So it's funny because I think you and I would work really well because I guess we're opposites because you're like, I hate all that. You love the implementation. Yeah, because for me, I've been doing the implementation for like 20 years now. And it's just like, it's almost like I just go on autopilot and it's like, I'd rather do other stuff. And maybe because I've been sitting down on a computer for forever now and I have back issues and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I just love to get out and get moving or whatever. But this is kind of interesting. So designing the AI and then bringing it to life, that equals then, like AI, no IA, like the information architecture. Yeah. So that's very interesting. I really love that, I have those difference of opinions. And I think, flipped in that way, thinking just how you were thinking, but back when I was first starting with designing. But interacting with clients is death. I love interacting with clients, which is why moving forward, what we're going to do, and I'm going to tell you kind of what I'm going to be doing, is having those conversations with people and talking with people and interacting with people. So it's going to be very interesting. And Rolando, welcome to the stream, brother. Good to see you. Yeah, I hate talking to clients, but I love doing development, CSS, and all the optimizations. Yeah, so very, very interesting because I totally get it. And if you love doing that stuff, then that is fantastic. But yeah, for me, it's to the point where that's just, not a fan. I'm not a fan of doing it anymore. So Jennifer, longtime lurker. Thank you for dropping by and leaving a comment. I do appreciate that. Who is she? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, look at that. from Mexico. Rolando as well too. So right on. But Leo saying, in case you're new, welcome to the community. Well, what she was saying, she was a long-time lurker, so definitely appreciate that. Stopping by and leaving some comments and getting into the discussion. Oh, okay. Got to remember to drink water when I'm talking so much here. Okay. I think I've watched 1/3 of Odum's journey so far. I think he's soothing music sucked me in. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I do. You know, I'm just that slow burn. I get once you get hooked. You know, I don't let go. I don't know exactly what this says, but I think he's asking like, what part of Mexico are you from? I think that's what that comment is. Okay, so super important. I'm still going to be working with my clients because the way that I'm thinking about it right now is that still for me, this is the only way that I'm going to be able to make some revenue right now, and I'm still going to be doing that. And if things come in through my door, like where someone's like, hey, I know you need to build a website or whatever, if it still makes sense for me to do that, I 100% I'm still going to do that. So the website's not going anywhere. I'm still keeping that, all of that kind of put into play. But what I'm saying is that I'm shifting my mindset into what it is I'm going to want to do, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, and starting to go towards that goal, right? So where do we want to go from here? I guess is kind of the main thing here. And what I have so far is it's written here. I don't have a full plan. I'm not exactly sure how this is all going to play out, but these are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about right now. So in terms of the business, I liked how I was thinking when I just said, 5 minutes ago, what my plan was. But I think I want to simplify it even more, because the plan was to have a podcast, but then that also was going to be used to bring people into Pixel and to Pixel Pieces or what have you. So it's almost as if I had to do two businesses at the same time. Number one, I had to figure out how to grow a podcast. And number two, I would still have to consistently be doing the work on Pixel to try to grow that. And then, I could hire other people or whatever, things are getting more successful, but then it's still like doing two things at the same time. So now I want to simplify things even more. And I want to say that the business itself is going to be the podcast. And that video that I watched a couple days ago, and we kind of broke it down here on the live stream. I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was just talking about Stephen Bartlett and the Diary of the CEO guy that was saying about that's his business. He's building this big media empire. It's not that I want to build this big media empire, but if I have it in my mind that I want to build a podcast, not exactly sure what the niche is going to be specifically. And that's where I want to figure out what my why is and what my point of what it is that I want to do with the rest of my life, to center the podcast around that and to build it to something that, have 1 million subscribers or just keep growing, just kind of build everything from there. And I think having everything funnel to that one goal of having the one business and the one kind of theme or whatever, I think that's my goal. And maybe, whether it's a good thing or not, we'll see what happens down the road. But I feel really happy about the decision to really kind of finally take the chance to really do something that is really going to give my life purpose and meaning. Because I talk about this before, and I think it's really, really important to do something that brings meaning, that you enjoy waking up in the morning, that you're going to tackle it. Doesn't mean you're always happy all the time, but doing something that also not only is it purposeful, but also provides value to other people. And I think going back to what I was saying earlier, this whole thing of talking to clients, interacting with them, helping them solve problems, giving them value, whatever the case may be, that's what I love doing. And so that's what I want to focus on. I just love the interaction with people. So that's what I want to do. And then the live stream as well. So I want to keep doing this live stream because, again, I love doing this live stream, but I need to figure out, number one, obviously the frequency, and number two, how I want it to support the content for the podcast. So Leo, you only live this life once, so live it to its fullest. Yeah. There's this quote that was from Jim Carrey, and it was a while ago, but it was a quote that I think he got from his father. It was from his father. And then he said something along the lines of, you can spend your whole life trying to succeed at something that you hate and then still be a failure at that. So you might as well try to spend your life succeeding at something that you love. So because that hit me so hard, because why would you spend your life doing something that you hate? And then you probably just fail anyways, right? Like if you're working a job that you hate, you get fired, whatever, right? The downsizing, all those kinds of things, right? So I don't know what the stat is for like 85% of people or whatever are you doing a job that they don't enjoy doing, or whatever the case may be, right? So you don't want to end up in that situation. At least you want to try not to anyways, right? So you might as well go for it. Jennifer, I'm from Houston and adopted. My mother was from Mexico. My adopted father was from Mexico, but not sure what part. Oh, very interesting. Awesome. Houston, always want to go down there. Must be beautiful down there, I would imagine, at least weather-wise. Do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Yeah, I've heard that many times, and maybe it's one of those things I should put on like a poster on the wall or whatever. That's fantastic. I love it. Another shout out here. So in terms of the niche, so we're talking about this whole podcast, and one of the things that I spent practically this whole past week doing is, it's really dark here. You can't see the office here, but this thing, I'm totally renovating this whole thing, and it's going to be this amazing podcast / content studio that I'm making. And I'm super, super pumped about this. I don't think I've been so excited about doing something for a while here. So ordered a bunch of gear, a bunch of equipment, which is going to be awesome. I'm super excited to unveil this. But anyways, in terms of the niche and the theme of what we're going to be talking about, I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing the same things, at least initially, about talking about how to build a business and the things that people need to probably keep in mind when they're trying to become an entrepreneur. So again, still talking to local entrepreneurs, local business owners here, getting their insights and their informations, and the pearls of wisdom on what they've done to start their business and all that kind of stuff. So that's still going to be the podcast, and then the live stream as well. It could almost be like the behind the scenes stuff of what I'm doing to try to build the podcast. So, and then I think it would be really great I've said this so many times too, so I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but have the live stream where I could bring in other people that have maybe almost like more specific skills or areas in business that they can come on the live stream and do more of a brown bag seminar, lunch and learn, where it's like, hey, here's a teaching moment of how you can implement something into your business, right? So like obviously Kevin was on, that was fantastic. It's like, oh, here's how you can do some of these things in Notion or whatever. So we'll have maybe that kind of a feel for the live stream, where it's, the podcast is like this pie in the sky, not pie in the sky, but just like this overall, hey, here's how I did my thing or whatever. And then the live stream is almost like, okay, well, here's how you can like implement certain things into your business or whatever, right? And then we can all together we can all discuss or whatever in the live stream, and then, share everything that we're learning and what we're going through. And yeah, I don't know, just have this community of people that are trying to figure out how to, build a business, right? So still about how to make $1 million, documenting that whole process, but trying to be a little bit more deliberate in the types of content that we're going to be releasing here on this live stream to make it a little bit more valuable for you guys. So Rolando, the quote that I really like from Dave Ramsey, hang on a second, let me switch this here. Dave Ramsey, a child does what makes him feel good, an adult does what he has to do. So yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about that thing too, because I've heard many different variations of that. And I've been thinking about that. I was like, okay, well, like for me as an adult, obviously I have to do what I have to do to make sure that my family still has food and that we still have a place to live, all that kind of stuff. But is there a way that it can also do what it is that I have to do, but also move towards doing stuff that still meets that criteria, but still fills me with the best sense of purpose and fulfillment in what I do? And I don't think that those things have to be mutually exclusive, which is why for me, obviously what I'm saying is, if I wanted to just do what I want to, I'd be like, I'm going to sell everything and I'm going to go live in a van and I'm just going to go travel and start surfing and become like a surfer bum and just do nothing, right? And just be this vagabond guy. Like if I would just do whatever I want to, but I can't do that. I'm not going to leave my family and all that kind of stuff. That'd be ridiculous, right? So, but yeah, I think there's ways to find the right balance, because if you spend your whole life doing what you have to do without putting any kind of thought into what you actually love doing, because you can still find a job, or if you're working a job that you hate, which I've done many times in my life, you can still try to work your way to finding the better and better job that's going to fit what your values are and fit what your purpose is more and more and more. So you can always be striving to be better, but yes, also while still remembering what your responsibilities are. My wife tells me I should take a break from the comp or company and have some fun. And I tell her this is what I love. Web development is so fun. Yeah. So I think what you're saying is like comp for your company or whatever. So it's so fun, and that's fantastic, right? Because if you love what you do, then it doesn't become work. So that's really great to hear. So that's really good. I'm not asking Leo if you speak Spanish. I hang around adults that channel their inner child. Yeah. So yeah, I like that as well too, because I think with children too, they have this way of seeing the world where it's this curiosity and this fearlessness to be able to explore and to be able to try new things and to not be paralyzed by a million what ifs the second you have an idea in your mind. Because I'm sure as adults, we've all had those things of like, hey, I want to do this. And then the second you have that thought, or after that thought, like you have the thought, you're like, that would be so cool. And then you have 10, 20, 30 reasons why you like almost instantly talk yourself out of doing that thing. And I think the people that are very successful, at least maybe in terms of finances or whatever gauge you want to gauge what success is to you, but maybe I'll talk a little bit more financial, is the people that are willing to take the risks, that are willing to not talk themselves out of doing things, taking a chance. Those are the ones that predominantly are the ones that end up being, that ultra successful, which is really great. So yeah, still working on ideas. And again, if you guys ever have any ideas, either now or into the future or whatever, of what you think you would really like to see in terms of a podcast or in terms of a live stream, do let me know, because I am trying to think about how I could be different from all these other people that have a podcast. And I think that's going to be pretty difficult in terms of being super, super different in how it's going to run. But I think that's going to be in how the podcast itself is carried out, how well I can do at interviewing people and having great conversations and things that people do want to hear. So yeah, but that's the goal, is to really be able to focus on growing a podcast here. So one of the things I'm really trying to work on is to really figure out, I don't have the book here, but figure out what my why is and why it is that I want to do the things that I do. And I'm pretty sure it's focused on doing stuff in the world. That doesn't sound very, very good here, but like I'm trying to learn how to do really well at entrepreneurship and to be successful in that. But even beyond that, I want to be able to, through the work that I'm doing, to be able to show people and inspire people. I know inspire people might sound too cheesy, but it's kind of true that if I can do it, some idiot here that's going on stream and, look like a fish out of water trying to figure this out over 351 episodes now, or 451, Jesus, even more. If an idiot like me can do it, then so can you. And together we can learn how to do these things, because at the end of the day, the more successful we all are as individuals, the better people that we're going to be able to be. And then at the end of the day, that's just going to make the world itself a better place, and we could talk a little bit more about that, how I think, people being responsible for themselves and taking in charge of their finances, taking charge of their health, taking charge of their relationships, I think is super important. And I think the more people that are like that in the world, I think the better off that we're going to be, And yeah, so if I can cultivate that why and always have that at the back of my mind, I think that's going to help me guide everything that I'm going to be doing in the podcast. So I love this, Rolando. So this is really, really fantastic. Like how to produce a podcast, the equipment, the sales process, the business administration. Yeah. So that is really great stuff. And those are the types of things I think that will be really, really cool to do in the live stream, or even create some type of I don't even know how exactly that would work, but whether it's like a Discord community or whatever, where we can jot these stuff down and just have almost like a dedicated space that has like a list of, here's the 2025 guide to starting a podcast, and like, what's your budget? What's this? And having all that stuff kind of laid out. So that's really good. So thank you for sharing that. I really, really love that. And that's the stuff too, like that, the whole tech stuff about the audio and the video and all that stuff. I love that kind of stuff as well too. Cause I think that gets my creative bug. Like it scratches that itch, I guess. So I really love that, that aspect of it too. So yeah, I don't want to tell you guys how anyways, getting all this equipment has been a lot of fun. It's a little bit of an investment too, because I want to get stuff that's going to be really, really good. So I'll show you once you guys see this set. I think it's going to be really cool. I think you guys are going to dig it. So Jennifer saying to Leo, my niece is learning German in high school. That's an impressive language to know first or second. It's beyond Greek to me. It's almost like German. I don't know what they're speaking. Yeah, German's a very interesting language. I know a few people from Germany, and talk to them, and they have a good German accent. So I don't know. It sounds funny, but yeah, it sounds pretty difficult. But from what I hear, and a lot of people say this, and maybe you might know about this, and Rolando maybe as well too, that English is a very difficult language to learn. And I know even with teaching the kids and stuff, and there's so many words in the English language that make no sense in terms of how they conjugate and the different tenses and all that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting. I don't listen to podcasts. That's why I watch you, because I like to listen to what you say while I'm programming Alluri when you're streaming. That's really cool. First of all, thank you. But you could imagine a podcast being, and they're going to be on YouTube and stuff like that as well too. But you could imagine it being just like me talking, but say I'm having a conversation with somebody else that is around a topic that's interesting to you. You can certainly just throw that on and listen to it while you're programming. But I guess it just depends on, the things that you like to listen to. I would imagine if you like listening to me, I would imagine you'd love listening to certain podcasts. Again, there's so many different themes and things out there that people do have, and they do have videos as well too. But I guess it's a little bit different as well too, because it's not interactive. So at least here, if you hear something I say, you can just like shoot in a comment or whatever, and then like have that interaction. So it is definitely different in that sense for sure. I follow a channel that teaches how to create a smart home, automations and that kind of thing. Maybe you could do something like that for a podcast, monetize with affiliates. So that again would be thinking about, if we're going behind the scenes and again, making that content that's going to support the podcast, and just talking kind of about the stuff that I do. And I haven't mentioned this at all, actually. And I don't know where this is going to fit in, but I could throw it in here. And I could put this in number 3. Oh, I can't edit this from here. Hang on. I need to go out of presentation mode. I think here. Yeah. So this is a third point, but I don't know. Again, I don't want to overwhelm like my time, because that's been a big concern of mine, is not splitting my time between different things, because that's how I feel like I don't get enough traction on specific things. So, but the third one is just, I'll just put it here like this, like long form YouTube videos, like around, whatever, just like business development, business / personal development. So if I can find the time to create videos on YouTube that are around this niche and around what it is that I'm doing, I think that'll be something very interesting. But I don't want to commit myself to doing all that kind of stuff because of, again, the time sink, especially if I'm doing, I don't know how many podcasts. I'll probably start with 1 podcast a week. And then, the live streams, I'm not sure, like if that's 1 or 2 a week, I'm not sure how that's going to go. But all that alone is going to be taking a lot of time. And then again, the editing of the podcast and making all the clips, all that kind of stuff. So, but I really love what you're saying here about just teaching the whole process of everything. It's just figuring out what's going to be the best way for me to be able to do that kind of stuff. And so duly noted. So, but yeah, smart home. It's funny for me. I hate the whole smart home stuff because everything's connected and what have you. And it's like, even though I've been playing around with some of my lights and having them all connected, it's just kind of, sometimes it's a little bit frustrating when it doesn't work, but when it does work, it is pretty cool. So I do like that. If you want a difficult language to learn, try Chilean Spanish. They don't even understand each other. Okay, well, that's good to know. I'll try to avoid that. Yeah, Leo saying German is a hard language, but I'm sure she's going to become a pro. Yeah. Yeah. Is there any language that's really easy to learn if you have no basis for that language whatsoever? You know, like, say, you know, if you know French, then learning Spanish, like they're all like, you know, they have like families of language, right? So, but if you're going to a completely different language, is like, how do you tell how difficult they are? And like, can you objectively say one language is harder than the other? I guess like Mandarin is pretty hard to learn because it's like a tonal language as well, from what I hear. So that it's not even the word you say, it's how you say it. So that could be pretty confusing, I would imagine. All right. Okay. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what I have here. So I guess just to recap for sure is, obviously I'm going to be still doing this live stream, but I just don't know what the frequency is going to be. And there's still a lot of things that I definitely need to work out in terms of how I'm going to kind of make this transition from what I'm doing now to the podcast. I mean, not much is going to change on my day to day because obviously I'm still doing work for my clients, but it's during the day now. Now I'm not going to be focused on pixel pieces. Actually, that's a really good question. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this, guys, because this is something that, you know, obviously has been in my mind with what I'm talking about, but I don't know what to do about it. So we spent, how much time did we spend building this application, right? We spent a lot of time building this. And now, basically, I'm saying it's not really where I want to go. So what the hell do I do with this? Because this thing is costing, I don't know what the exact cost is, but it's probably for the hosting itself. We have four sites at 200 and, well, no, not that much. Maybe it's like $800 for hosting US to run this. Plus we spend $50 a month on Rewardful for the affiliate marketing. And I think we spend $50 a month for MemberStack. So we're talking we're probably talking $3,000 US to keep this running. So what do we do with this? That I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm really not sure. So is it something where, you know what, we say, we tried, it didn't succeed. More likely it didn't succeed because we didn't put the effort that it needed to have? Or do we wait a little bit, start our podcast, see how things go? Maybe somehow we get some organic stuff where people are starting to check it out, and then we'll see what happens. I mean, for now, I don't want to jump the gun and pull the plug on anything just quite yet. So we might as well just leave things until the new year and kind of see how things go. But yeah, but it's very interesting. And of course, if I'm trying to think about if I want to cut any costs or whatever, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure where to go. Sorry, I'm not reading out loud. English is for talking about business. French is for talking to women. German is for talking to dogs. And Spanish is for talking to God. That's funny. So is that Carlos 1 of Spain? Or is that Carlos I? Or just Carlos 1? But that's funny. Jen, love it. I thought that Spanish was easier to learn, but I learned it at a young age, and I think it's easier to learn languages when you're young. Yeah, I think so. Your brain is more like a sponge. You just kind of absorb things. I mean, speaking waiting. Probably, I think you mean writing Spanish is not super easy. And I only know 4 languages, so don't know there is an easier language to learn. I wouldn't say only. I would say most people. Well, I don't know about most people. Maybe this is like a North American thing, but I think people in Europe, like South America, Latin America, basically just people not in Canada and the US and like maybe Australia, a lot of people speak more than one language outside of here. But I feel like in North America, people know like one language, maybe 2 if you're lucky. So, but yeah, I think like Europe or whatever, because there's so many different languages and cultures, I think, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Only 4 years a lot compared to people here in the United States. Yeah. And Canada too, it's like 2 languages tops, like English, French. Like I know English and French. But other people, it's like English and maybe what other language that they have, you know, if they're an immigrant or whatever, they came from somewhere else or whatever, right? So, or English is their second language. But getting people with 3, 4, 5, it's like not a lot. I would love to learn lots of different languages. That'd be really, really cool. Put it on hold. Let go of that expense for the moment until you are mentally ready to implement a SaaS. Yeah, whenever the time may be. That, yeah, I think that honestly, I think that's the way, like that's where I'm heading at. Because even if somebody comes in and buys something right now at, you know, $250 or whatever, that's like $250. Like it's not like that's going to make or break, right? Spanish and bullshit. Yeah, Spanish, English, and bullshit. Yeah, that's too bad. I had fun building this though. I will say that because this was, this was really fun building. So I really enjoyed building this. But what can I do with this? I mean, it's not sellable in this state. Like it's not worth buying. I don't think, unless somebody would offer something like a few $100 or whatever, because it's like all the code is ready to go. Maybe I could just offer it for free. Maybe I could just put this like on Webflow, and just, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll just give it back to the community somehow. Yeah, I don't know. We'll put some thought into it, and we'll see where we're gonna go from there. Okay. All right, guys. So I think what I'm gonna do is Orlando. I understand English, Spanish, French a little bit. Catalan? I'm not even sure what that is. Galician and a little Navarrese. I don't know those last 3 of them. I probably butchered that pronunciation. Don't know any of those ones. But that's a lot. That's crazy. That is awesome. So what was I saying? I can't remember what I was saying, but anyways, here's what's in my mind right now is, right. So what I'm doing this week is I'm still doing a lot of preparation for the podcast, getting things ready. So I've already talked to a few people about coming onto the podcast, and they said yes. So that's super exciting. So I'm really looking forward to that. And, yeah, I think that's going to be really, really good. So I still have a lot of work to do in the room here to fix all this stuff up. And there's some things that I want to get kind of, I can get my ducks in order, I guess you can say, for all my current clients that I have. And I think I mentioned this before in a previous stream, is that I feel that my existing clients, I feel that I've not neglected them, but I feel that I haven't given them that premium attention that I would like to give them, because I've been stretched so thin in trying to produce content, building pixel pieces, building templates, all that kind of stuff. And I feel that they've gotten, they come in and they say they want this and this work done, and I do that work for them. But I haven't really been able to go above and beyond, which is what I really love to do. So I haven't been able to do that. So I think by dropping all that stuff, I'll be able to do more of that. So I want to put a few different systems and things in place to really help my current clients, because, as I said, I still love them. I'm going to love working with them. I'm not going anywhere with them. Never going to leave them anywhere. The Pixel website itself, it's still going to be up. So if people do come in the door and they want something, then I can decide whether I want to go with that or not. And then I could charge whatever it is that I want to charge. And if it's too high, then so be it. That's not going to be my primary source of income. And I still think that's going to be good to just have just on the sidelines in a way that could generate some revenue while we really fire up the podcast. Excuse me. Like once the podcast gets to a point where for whatever reason, I'm getting whatever downloads and getting some views and all that kind of stuff, and some sponsorships or whatever YouTube monetization rolls in and we start making some revenue, then we can figure out exactly where we want to go. But until then, we still have to figure out and do the things that we have to do in order to be able to make some money, right? So so that's always really important. A little tip: until you have a team to help you edit, put out a podcast every 2 weeks. So I haven't thought at all of what the frequency is going to be with the podcast. So it's either going to be one every week or one every 2 weeks to start. So that's for sure. I am leaning towards, for me, I think one every 2 weeks. I think that's a little bit too slow for the velocity that I want to have. So that being said, I don't know how difficult it's going to be to try to get guests on, and I don't want to dilute the podcast by getting guests that I feel are not going to be entertaining or are not going to be able to provide you guys with value, right? So I need to see how that's going to flow. So everything is open in terms of what makes the most sense. So I do know when you're looking at other people like Pat Flynn, who does his smart passive income stuff, and he teaches his course, and he's got the whole accelerator program of podcasting and all that kind of stuff. He really says, you want to pick a frequency, but he loves the sweet spot of one podcast a week. I'm pretty sure he loves that. So maybe don't quote me on that, but I think he loves that frequency. So I'm going to try for that one. But again, I'm super open to whatever's going to make the most sense. That's going to provide me with the best avenue to succeed in this endeavor. And I'm definitely going to record a few of them before I even release any, so then I'll have some stuff in the bank in a sense that I could release them, give myself a little bit of a buffer space, until we get to the point where people are going to be contacting me to be on the show or whatever, right? Because they see that I'm getting a following or whatever the case may be, right? So yeah, definitely something to consider. The editing part itself, I think I know how that's going to go, and I have a few ideas of how I could really streamline that process by bringing other people, at least here in my family, to help out because they work for pretty cheap, which is nice. But yeah, so we'll kind of get the process and put everything in place to make sure that things go smoothly. But yeah, it's definitely about making sure that we have enough time to do all the things that we need to do and still produce the best possible show that we can every single time that we release an episode. So the amount of work it takes to make it monetarily sufficient is much more than what it takes to create a web design agency. Between sales, editing, production, it's a gigantic amount of work. Yeah, it could be. I'm looking forward to the challenge, though, to be honest, because I guess for me, one of the things that I'm thinking long term of how something like this could be much more beneficial long term than a web design agency is that with a podcast, really what we're creating here is we're creating basically like we're grabbing people's attention. And when you have people's attention, you can call it building like a media conglomerate or whatever the case may be, but that attention is what is super, super valuable. Just looking at the Mr. Beast or Joe Rogan, whatever the case may be, they just talk about stuff and make videos or whatever, but what they really have, what's really powerful is that they have the attention, right? They are able to connect with people. And that's worth so much money. Obviously, Joe Rogan signs his $100 million Spotify deal, right? Just to have the show on the platform because it's attention. So is it harder? Yeah, it could very well be harder. I'm not going to say no to that because I think it probably is going to be harder, especially if you want to make it like something that's really going to be able to generate you some significant amount of revenue. But the greater the risk or the greater the struggle, maybe the greater the reward. And I think long term, to have a podcast that is super successful or that's just successful is going to be able to provide you with much more revenue than a web design agency. especially when you think about, hey, what's AI going to do to the field in the next 5 to 10 years? Because we don't know what's going to happen there. So maybe a lot of the mid-tier web design agencies are going to go the way of the dodo. I don't know about that. Like I've said before, I'm not worried about that right now as a designer, but in 5 years or 10 years, there might be some issues down the road with that. But one thing that I think is still going to be evergreen is the ability to hold people's attention and to create content and to be able to learn how to engage with an audience. And there's other things that I haven't fleshed out yet, and I haven't talked about it, but there's more to this than just a podcast. So there could be ways where, like having the skills to be able to produce podcasts and all that kind of stuff, you know, if I decided to create some type of company that helps other people, you know, produce and record their podcast, that could be something as well. So even if I just had a studio, so say I have enough money to rent out an actual studio, that's where I can do my podcast in, but then we'll also have the infrastructure to be able to do other podcasts for other people and provide that as a place for people to be able to come in and create their content. So it could be like this place where people can create other content. So it's something I've been thinking about, but again, I don't want to think about all these different possible potential avenues of generating income, because then my mind goes into a million different things and then I try to spread myself too thin. So I want to bring it back to one thing, but there's so many other options that are available other than just, I want to make this one podcast kind of work. So Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO can hold my attention well. He is one channel where I don't watch the episode on 2 times. And his videos are like 2 hours, 3 hours. I just finished watching, I didn't finish it. I think I'm halfway through. I watched lots of his videos. They're pretty good. But he was, just recently, it was the Minority Mindset guy. And I've seen him before. And he talks about personal finances and all that kind of stuff. But I always love hearing about that stuff constantly, just because it always kind of keeps it fresh of mind. So that's a good podcast that he has with Jess Reed there. So that was good. But yeah, he's really good. He knows how to ask the right questions, and he knows how to frame things really, really well. There's other people that are really good as well too. Obviously for me, like Joe Rogan is fantastic. You know, politics aside or whatever, whether you agree with him or not, he's actually really good at sitting down and talking to people. Like he's really good at that. Chris Williamson, I think it's Chris Williamson. He's really good at it as well too. So his podcast is pretty good. So those are probably for me the top 3 people that I will listen to in terms of being able to actually have a really good podcast and hold your attention and have really good conversations. So definitely studying those guys and studying how they do things, so that one day people are going to be talking about Stephen. You know, maybe they'll mention Odum on the same breath about people that do really good about podcasts. So Ben Shapiro, so he's the guy that you can't listen to him at 2x because he just naturally talks at 2x speed because he's so fast. So I've never actually listened to his podcast. I've seen his video clips, you know, where he's talking about certain stuff, but I've never actually seen him in his podcast. Does he have an actual podcast, or is it just like a TV show? Because I think it's like the Ben Shapiro show, but does he? I guess he must have a podcast as well too. I've never actually listened to it. But yeah, so that's interesting. But I do know, I joke around that if you listen to him and you accidentally keep it on 2x speed or whatever, and you listen to his show or him talking, it's like you can't even hear him because it's just like rambles on so fast. It's crazy. Yeah. Okay. So what I think one thing I was saying before I went off on this tangent here is the frequency of this live stream. So what I'm going to do this week is I still have lots of things to get ready and to take care of here. So again, I'm still going to be putting the daily live streams on hold, and I'm going to spend again another 1 week here just kind of figuring stuff out. And I do appreciate you guys coming back and, you know, sticking with me and not, you know, saying the hell with this guy because he's going off his schedule or what have you. So I really do appreciate you guys coming here today. But I am going to take another week to get everything, all the ducks in a row. And then hopefully next week, things will be even more fleshed out, that everything here should be set up in the studio and everything should kind of be good to go. So I can give you guys a tour of this place or whatever, and just have things more fleshed out in terms of what it is that I'm going to be doing. And maybe we can go behind the scenes more and talk about all the things that I'm doing to try to get things kind of set up too. So Rolando, you were saying you were kind of interested in that as well too, about like podcast setups or whatever. So I could do like a little bit of a walkthrough of all the different things that I'm using tech wise or whatever to kind of get things started. So happy to talk about that as well too, because I'll love to nerd out about audio stuff, cameras, lights, all that kind of stuff. So it's really good. Lights, man. Lights are super expensive if you want to get the good quality lights. So, but yeah, we'll definitely talk about that too, because that's gonna be fun. So, yeah, and in Spanish, Creativo, The Wild Show, and Estoy Aburrido. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that horribly, but I haven't heard of those. But yeah, I mean, you can't hear of every show, every podcast. There's just too many. There's too many good stuff as well too, which is fantastic. Cool. Right on. All right, guys. We're changing the subject. I just enrolled in the university for my 3rd degree. Now I'm going to study engineering. I don't know whether to say congratulations or my condolences, but no, congrats. So going back to university, engineering. What kind of engineering? So there's different types. And are you finding then that the work that you wanted to do in terms of creating your own web design company and doing that kind of stuff, are you finding that it's not working out as well as you wanted it to, and so you just want to go out and change what it is that you want to do, kind of like me, trying to figure this out? Are you having a midlife crisis, getting that 3rd degree? So Jennifer's asking, nice, why? So that's very, very interesting. So your first 2 degrees, I know one of them, Rolando was a lawyer, so was a lawyer? I'm not sure exactly. So I'm sure it is a degree in law school. So that was the first one. But you're going to do software engineering and data mining. Well, I mean, that's not a bad way to go if you're going to be going to school to be able to do that kind of stuff. And that was something that I was actually very close to going back to school to doing software engineering as well too. But it was more actually, it was human computing interface or interactions or something like that, because I was very interested in knowing how computers and humans can interface together and studying that. There was a professor at the University of Waterloo that was just there, and he just got a whole bunch of money for grants. I was like, I think this sounds really, really cool. So I was looking into it, and I was very close to pursuing that. Maybe one day get a job working at with Elon Musk and his Neuralink or whatever. But I thought that was really, really fascinating. So that's cool. So the first one is in law, and then the second one is in economics. And now you're going to be an engineer. So you're going to have all the talents and all the skills in the world, man. So with all of that talent and skills, you got to be able to put that together and create yourself your own business to be able to do some kind of I was going to say, like, if you're an engineer and like you're building something, you could like, if you were, say, you're going to be like a structural engineer or something like that. It's like, we'll build you something, but if it ever collapses, we'll be the law firm that'll help you defend yourself in case of damages. Kind of combining those things together. But that's awesome. So when do you start? I'd love to know when you're going to go back to school. And are you going just for, like, I imagine you'd have to start with a bachelor's degree. And are you planning on going to like master's or PhD level, or just getting the bachelor's degree? I'm not gonna say just, because it's tough enough to get that kind of degree. Yeah, data mining sounds interesting. Law and economics. Yeah, econ always confuses me. Economics is great to learn. If you're wanting to learn very, very minimal stuff about economics, which I think is super, super important to learn, Ray Dalio has a couple videos on YouTube which are really fantastic at giving like Econ 101. And a person, an economist? No, what's that person that studies economics? An economist. That's the word. So an economist that I like listening to and reading up on is Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell. He's really good as well too. So I love his work. So I'd highly recommend that to get yourself this overview of kind of how things work, because it's kind of important to understand, especially if you're doing business stuff. Even having the basic principles of, like just like cash and credit and like your GDP and just how things kind of work. And like that's kind of the whole thing of transactions, right? It's like somebody has something and they spend money and they buy it, they make a transaction, and that's it. And then how credit kind of plays into the whole thing is really interesting. Rolando, I'll never catch up with my father. He was a primary and secondary school teacher, a master's degree in physics, a civil engineer, and a PhD in philosophy. So yeah, you guys must have had some pretty interesting conversations around the dinner table, which is crazy, crazy awesome. And he would be an amazing teacher. Imagine having somebody like that as your grade school teacher. As long as he's not busting your balls too much in school, I would imagine that being like amazing. So that's awesome. But never say never. You never know. You never know. I start in January. I'm going to do a normal engineering degree. Yeah, right on. So I would imagine for you, it probably would only take you like 2 years, because you probably won't have to do all those stupid elective credits and all that kind of stuff because you already have a bunch. I would imagine it's transferable, that you only might have to take the core courses. So that would be nice if you can get it done in 2 years instead of doing like a full 4 years. So I could imagine that. Yeah, how long did they say? You probably know. 3 years. Okay, so we split the difference. So that's not so bad. Are you going to be taking are you going to be studying all year round, or is that like 2 terms and then taking like the summer off or something like that? Because if you didn't do that, then you could probably get that done in 2 years, 2 and a little bit, maybe, if you could fast track. Here, university courses last 5 years. Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. 5 years. But how many can I ask then? Because it's not even how many years it lasts. It's really like how many courses you have to take. So basically for me, for my degree, it was 40 classes that you had to take, basically like 40 credits. And each class was, like 3-hour lectures for the whole term. And the terms were split into 3. There was 3 terms per year, right? You had your fall, winter, and then your spring or summer term. So yeah, that's kind of how it was for me. So, or at least how it is here. And I'm pretty sure it's the same thing in the States too. Obviously I can't say anything for what it's like in Mexico, but that's interesting. 5 years, eh? So Brent, yeah, welcome. So what's next regarding the title? Probably repeat yourself 100 times by now. Maybe, yeah. Oh yeah, it's like I'm a mod. Yeah, you're right. You're watch out. 54 courses. Yeah, that's crazy. Because I was saying 40 courses, but there's also like labs and stuff. If you're engineering, you're gonna have laboratories as well too, I would imagine. So I don't know if that counts as a course or whatever. Because I had to take lots of labs as well too, especially with science. It was just all kinds of courses plus the labs. So that's crazy. Yeah, so I can see why that would take 5 years. So yeah, so what's next? So basically, it's like you gotta have to watch the replay. No. That's without all the labs. Yeah. Okay. So that's why it takes 5 years, which makes sense because you're talking about 10 courses a year times 5. So it's like 54. So 10, maybe like 11. So that's pretty much what it is here, except ours, again, you get your degree in 4 years, not 5. So well, that's crazy. Okay. Without the labs. But best of all, it's almost free. Okay, so that's that's a benefit, because here you want to go back to school. Okay, well then you're paying, I don't even know what it is now. When I went to school, this was back in 1999, it was $2,300 or $2,400 a term. So times like 8 terms or whatever, and it just kind of went up. Now it's got to be at least $6,000, I would imagine. So yeah, if you go for free, then yeah, that's like. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so I'd be a lifelong student of university if it was all free. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's any tax. I know there's lots of tax benefits here in Canada if you're a student. So, but then again, you're always living like a student, which might not always be the best, especially if you just want to start making some money. You have to spend all your time studying. Okay, so Brent, so what's next regarding the title? So basically, we're still going to be, I still have clients. We're still going to be on those clients. We're going to treat them like royalty. We're going to keep doing that because that's the thing that's going to bring us in some money. So we need that. And if anything comes along in the door. If somebody needs a website or whatever, we'll analyze them on a case-by-case basis on whether we can take them on or not, depending on what they want, depending on what their budget is, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to do behind the scenes to make sure that we can still put the lights on and pay the bills. So in terms of what we want to do, so I'm pretty sure what I want to build is I just want to build a podcast. So we're going to say, you know what? We're going to build the podcast. I don't know if it's going to be called the Unconventional Mindset or whatever. It probably will be, because I kind of like that name, but it's going to be a podcast. And I think the general theme of the podcast is going to be like, we're going to start with entrepreneurship, but I think I would love to have it as like eventually being some kind of form of how you could build yourself like a better life, how you can build the life that you want to build, and just talk to people that can help offer different pieces of advice or whatever on that space. And there could be, obviously there's lots of kinds of different topics around how to have like a good life or whatever. But one of the things too, the pillars, is personal finances / entrepreneurship. And so that's what we're going to focus on. And, right. So sorry, I'll just look at the comments. Hang out with the comments for a second. So that's the podcast that we're going to build. So we're going to focus basically 100% of our time and energy on that. And then the live stream is going to be something that we're going to be able to do here that's going to be supportive, or like a supporting, not a supporting act, but I don't know. It's just going to be supportive of the live stream, where we can go a little bit more in depth into the things that we learn on the podcast, or we could also bring in people on the live stream to give us these lunch and learns or seminars or whatever, more interactive content where they can teach us certain things about doing stuff in business or whatever the case may be. And, you know, we can ask questions or whatever, just have a little bit more of an interactive conversation, which you can't have on a podcast. So, and that's going to obviously help propel. And I think I'm hoping that both of them will help promote each other, right? So you watch on YouTube, you can watch the live stream, but then you could also, you know, promote the podcast on the live stream, and on the podcast promote the live stream, whatever, so that they'll complement each other really well. That's what I'm hopeful for anyways. And then, but yeah, so Rhonda was saying this as well earlier, is podcasts take a while before we're able to monetize. Yeah, 100%. So that's definitely in my mind to know and understand. And that's why we're still going to be working with our clients. And we still have contracts, so the money is still going to be flowing in. So I'm not really worried about that too much, at least for the next 6 to 8 months for now. That we have enough of a buffer. We've built enough of a buffer here in what we've done over the past 2 years to be able to afford to put forth the effort to really try to make this thing work. Because I think this is, for me, it's much more in line with where it is that I want to go with my life and what I want to actually do with my life. So, and when I was thinking about web design, I used to love doing it, but I've been doing it for 20 years and it just doesn't give me I don't know, it just doesn't give the satisfaction to me on the day-to-day basis. Like I have to sit down and do work, and sometimes it just, you know, I just feel like I just rather be doing almost anything else some days, and I don't want to have that feeling. And that's a horrible feeling for doing something that, you know, you have to do, because obviously it's my job, right? So, yeah, so that's kind of the idea. So yeah, I understand it's going to take a long time. So Rolando, it takes 2 to 3 years for a podcast to monetize decently if you're not famous. Well, you know what? We're going to do it in, let's say we're going to do it in 6 months from when we start. So let's bust out what you're saying, and I'll put that to the challenge. I'll take that as a challenge, and we'll make it in 6 months. And I think that we can do that. So we'll see. A lot of people, yeah. So anyways, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But we'll bet a tequila on it or something like that, right? So if I get it in 6 months, and then we have to talk about what that means being monetized or however much money that's going to make. But we're going to go for 6 months to be making, you know, say like $1,000 a month or something like that. I don't know. Ron, sorry to burst your bubble, but almost all of the non-English speaking world university is almost free. Yeah, it's free for most places. Yeah, a lot of people have that. So I knew that. I don't know if you're talking about anybody else here in the chat or whatever, but yeah. So here in the Great White North University is pretty expensive. And if you're an international student, I think it's the same thing in the States. It's ridiculously expensive. Like, I don't know why you would come. I mean, I do know why you would probably want to come to Canada to study as an international student. But the cost is like 3 times the price as it would be for someone who's not an international student. So obviously, if you're going to come here because you want to become a Canadian citizen, get the passport, all that kind of stuff, that's another issue, right? But anyways, I truly never knew that. That does hit a little. I don't know. Are you talking about whether it takes 2 or 3 years to monetize a podcast, or just maybe about the university? I'm not sure. But anyways, we'll see, guys. I guess we'll see. That's going to be one of the things that I think is going to be very interesting to keep an eye on. But I think if I can figure out a good niche and figure out how to get my message out there and figure out how I could use the people that I bring on to my advantage in terms of being able to leverage their networks and their connections, then I don't think it'll have to take necessarily 2 or 3 years. And a lot of people that start a podcast, if they're not making any money in 2 to 3 years, I'm pretty sure they probably will just fold up shop and not do it anymore. But we'll see. We'll see. Yes, I once wanted to go study in Canada, but couldn't afford to pay for it. Yeah, it's expensive. I think people are paying upwards of $40,000 to $50,000 a year to come study in Canada, which is crazy. Let alone how much it's going to cost to get yourself a place to live too, which is also super, super expensive. So Brent, did I answer kind of a good overview of everything that I'm planning on doing? I think so. And the third thing too that I've talked about, which I'm not exactly sure how it's going to fit, but creating just creating kind of more long form, talking head type videos, just kind of explaining the things that I'm working on, or, maybe some slight tutorials in terms of, how to do a podcast or how to do, how to get guests, all that kind of stuff. So there may be some videos like that are going to come into the pipeline, but that's not something that I'm really kind of banking on, because again, that pulls away from time that I could be spending on actually trying to grow the podcast, whether that's getting guests, learning how to be a better interviewer, reading books, reading what other people are talking about. And yeah, so there's lots of stuff to learn and lots of stuff to grow. So I definitely don't want to take time away from doing all the stuff that I'm going to need to do. So changing the subject again, I want to help. So I'm at your service, whatever you may need. I appreciate that. I really do. So I'll definitely keep that in mind. So I'm not exactly sure, because I'm still not sure exactly what I'm doing. Well, I mean, I know kind of what I'm doing, but the how it's all going to get done, I'm not sure yet. But I definitely appreciate that, and I will reach out if I do need a hand, which I'm sure I will need a hand at some point for sure. So thank you for that offer. I really do appreciate that. So thank you. All right. So I think with that, so yeah, like I said, I'll be back again on Monday for a new live stream. So the rest of the week, I'm not going to be here live streaming. So thank you for sticking with me on that. But if you do have any questions, reach out to me on Discord or send me an email or make a comment here on YouTube or what have you. I definitely see all of those. And by next week, we should have a little bit more of a clear indication of what the regular schedule is going to be for this live stream. I know it's getting closer to the holiday season as well too, so there's lots of work that everyone's doing. Hopefully everyone's going to get a chance to spend some time with family and friends and all that fun stuff. So I can edit in Final Cut, but I'm not a native English speaker, so it'd be very difficult for me to help you edit. Yeah, so that's okay. So for editing too, I do know that I'm going to be doing my first edits, because I'm going to be probably pretty particular of what it is that I'm going to want to do and the type of like editing is it's an interesting kind of skill to have, and it could really change what the tone and what the look of feel is of the actual content that you're going to be producing. So I'm going to want to set the tone for whatever my creative direction, whatever my creative thought process is going to be. So I'm sure I'm going to be doing that initially at the beginning anyways, just so that when I do have that nailed down, then I'll know exactly how to pass on that teachings to the people that, if anybody's going to be helping me out with the editing process at the end of the day. But I do appreciate that. Final Cut Pro, you got to learn DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is where it's at, and it works on Mac. But Final Cut Pro, from what I hear, is a pretty good piece of software. So I won't knock it too much, for being a Mac product. But yeah, so I think, what would actually be, thinking about what would be really helpful. And I don't know exactly how to do this, but like being able to, number one, translate specific videos into other languages. So, if I ask you, I would say right now, if I had to say what I would need help with, is if I could take the content that I have and translate it into Spanish, at least even if just for, like, I was thinking like the YouTube shorts or what have you, then that could be a whole other market that could open up for people that don't speak English. But then again, I would have to get the whole podcast translated if I want to actually use that to link to the full podcast. So that's going to cost a lot of money to get somebody to translate, do like voiceovers, right, for a whole podcast. So that would be kind of difficult, but yeah, so that's one thing that I was thinking of, is like being able to get yourself into different markets from different languages. That would be really, really crazy. Yeah, but even just subtitles, I guess, could be something that could be done. So yeah, again, is it really going to be helpful if I say, I have the shorts and I create my, my TikToks and my Instagram, whatever, they have all these YouTube shorts, which of course will just kind of point to the podcast. But if it's English that's being spoken, but then the subtitles are in Spanish, is that really going to be beneficial for me if it only links to the podcast that's in English? But I guess if it can have Spanish subtitles. But yeah, it would be much better to be able to actually like translate it. But I guess having the subtitles is enough, right? Because if it's really interesting and you want to get that information, maybe just having it subtitled would be enough. But of course, it doesn't help for people that are, that are deaf or whatever, or not deaf, that would be blind, I should say, because they can't, see the text, they can only hear. So anyways, that's interesting. But yeah, that's something that I'd definitely probably be interested in doing. So look out for maybe some information on that in the future. So create an anti-Justin Trudeau podcast. I guarantee success in 3 months. Yeah, there's some people here in Canada that they've started going on the politics bandwagon, and their channels have blown up, especially since 2021. Is that when it was? When we had this whole freedom convoy, which got like whole worldwide attention and spurred a whole lot of different movements across the whole world, which was really crazy. But yeah, a lot of people started talking about politics back then because we're like, what the hell is going on? Why are we locked in our houses for all this time? And people just kind of had enough of it. And so people started talking about politics and stuff like that. So yeah, people have done really, really well. Yeah, so yeah, it will be something too. But yeah, I don't know. Talking politics is just, it gets so tiring and it's so frustrating for me anyways. And that's why, like, the work that I'm doing and the stuff that I want to do is I want to be, so successful and so whatever, I have all the money or whatever, that politics doesn't matter to me anymore, because if I don't like something, I'll just move somewhere else. I'll just hop on my plane and fly somewhere else, That's kind of what I think. It's like, I don't have a pension or whatever, the government screw me over. It doesn't matter. I pay for my own stuff. I pay for my own healthcare. I could pay for anything if I had to, right? So I don't need the government to help me for anything. So that's my kind of philosophy on just become so successful that any government doesn't matter, right? Because you can always just escape it. So we are 380 million Spanish speakers. Do you think do you think there's 1% who'd be interested in your podcast? So I guess my question is, I would imagine, of course, there would be. So then, yeah, that's already 3.8 million people, right? So that's amazing. But I guess my question is to you is, would having just the show having subtitles, would that be of interest to somebody who doesn't speak English, but would be interested in the show, but just having the subtitles? And if you say yes, then great. Because I know for me, I don't watch any videos. Well, okay, I shouldn't say any. Probably, like, I don't even remember the last time I watched anything that was a different language just to have subtitles, unless it was an actual movie that I was watching. So short answer is yes, then let's do it. Then that's what we'll do then. Because, yeah, why not get more people than not? So, but then you'd have to transcribe the whole thing. So, that would be another bit of work or whatever to do and figure out how that's done. But I'm sure there's some AI tools that can help with all that kind of stuff, even to just spit out something that's in English that could be translated. But yeah, so it'd be almost like starting with the shorts first and then going from there. But anyways, so I like it. So that's really interesting. So I watch in different languages only if there are subtitles. And I think with YouTube, what you can do is you can load up the different subtitles. You can even load up on English, and you just put them in a specific type of file, and then that'll be like the official subtitles. I think you can even do some language switching within Chrome or whatever. I don't know if YouTube has this feature, and you can bring subtitles, but they're not like the ones that have been uploaded specifically by the video owner, which you can do. So that's kind of what we want to do, which would be really cool. Okay, so that's good to know, guys. So I think that's actually a really good thing to keep in mind. Because yeah, it's also like the rest of the world. Not everyone speaks, English. It's one thing too. I remember from, I think it was Mr. Beast when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he like blew Joe Rogan's mind away when he said this. But he's like, yeah, we took all of our videos, which of course are getting millions and millions of views or hundreds of millions, and we just took our videos. And he's like, yeah, only 30% of the world speaks English. So we got like celebrities to just do voiceovers of our videos in all these different languages. So he's talking about he shows his plaques of how many, 100,000 subscribers, or like YouTube, what's it, like the silver button, the gold button, whatever. And he's like, we have all of these different languages of our videos. They're the exact same video, but just dubbed in a different language. And he's got, I don't know, dozens and dozens of them. It's just such a smart thing to do, to just repurpose the content you've already made and just put it in a different language. So it's really amazing. So, and it's a way to think globally. So I really like what you guys are saying here. So I appreciate that. Don't cut yourself off to markets if you don't have to. And I love the whole fact. Other people have talked about this before, especially in even just blogs, just having it translated. You can use AI, can do most of that now too. I mean, the translation is not the best, but you could have your blog in different languages, which is going to be fantastic for you to just reach a new audience without having to do any extra work. It's amazing. The only thing I worry about, of course, if you're having a 2-hour podcast, how many words is that's going to need to be translated, and how long would that take? And then the question would be like, how much would that cost? So those are the things that I'd have to consider to figure out how to do all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And then also having to match the translation with the closed captioning. I think we'd have to do that in software. DaVinci Resolve does that for English, but then I don't know how they do the translation. So I'll have to figure out how that's done. Because you can't just load a text file. You actually have to load it. That goes with the actual audio as well too. So you have to make sure that syncs. But anyways, little tech stuff to figure out. I watch videos in at least 4 different languages depending on what mood I'm in. Yeah. All you guys with all your fancy, I know all these different languages. So, so that makes a lot of sense. But for us plebs that only understand 2 languages, we don't have much choice. I can watch in English or in French, and that's all I got. That's everything. Okay. Right on. Okay. So that's it for me, guys. I think buy a Mac and we can do it in Final Cut. Why would I buy a Mac? Do I look like I like to bleed money? Come on now. You can just get DaVinci Resolve, which, by the way, is free. And it's even better than Final Cut Pro. We could be professionals, and then you can have this software. I have where am I here? So you can get the free version, or you can just buy it. It's like $400 or $500, and I think it's $339 Canadian. So that's like $2 American. So it's pretty cheap to buy, and you have it for life. But even the free version is amazing, and it's so good. So if you want a professional editor, this is the way to go, and it's so much better than basically everything out there. So that's what I recommend. This is what I use, and this is what I recommend. But anyways, that way you can share stuff through the cloud and everything like that too for editing. So that would work super smoothly. And I wouldn't buy a Mac just to get Final Cut Pro when this is already better than that. That's just my opinion, anyways. Yeah, when you want to scare yourself, go to Europe. Most people speak at least 3 or 4 languages fluently. Yeah, which is amazing. So speaking of that, I had this email that came to me. Let me see if I can bring it up. Because we remember how we were talking about going to like the Formula Grand Prix in Monaco. I think it's F1, right? So I got this email. So I don't know what it is. I'm like this whatever platinum member in American Express, because I have like their platinum whatever stupid business card. So I got a link where I could actually buy some F1 tickets. And I was like, ooh, and then it's in Mexico in 2025. And I was like, this is really cool. So now I can figure out how much this thing costs. So, but even in just this one, which is the pit lane, I was going into it looking at the prices, and per ticket, it's $3,400 per ticket, which is I was kind of thinking that they weren't going to be cheap. But this is starting at that. So it's a little bit pricey, but of course once we're millionaires, it's going to be so worth it to fly you guys out here, and we're going to do our, Formula One get together. But yeah, so I just thought, I'd show this to you guys, cause it just so happened to be, we're talking about this last week or whatever it was. And then this thing comes up in my email, for these prices. That doesn't sound right for standard 3-day ticket. Maybe some VIP package. All right, so I guess Champions Club 3-day. Yeah, obviously we want this Champions Club. That is Thursday to Sunday, so I guess that is a 3-day thing. So that's actually really good. That's actually pretty, I'm gonna say cheap, but seems pretty good. So obviously we're gonna want this one, right, guys? So you want the Championship Club 3-day main event. We get hotels. We got 4-night hotel stay, ground transfers, package pricing. Okay, $6,800. That's not bad. So how many of us were? I think there was going to be 4 of us. I can't remember. Let's say there's 4 of us. So that's only going to cost $27,000. That's not bad. You have $1 million, $27,000. That's nothing. We'll do it. We'll go have some fun. But again, maybe not this one, because I don't think I can't buy this right now. That's way too much money. But next year, once we get there, F1. But can we go other races? Ooh, oh, there are other races. Sorry, guys. You probably don't care about this, but Monaco. This is the one that we wanted to go, right? So can we buy tickets to this one? We can. So maybe these are going to be even more expensive. Legends 3-day suite. Sorry, guys. So this, if you click off too, if you don't want to see this. Oh shit. Okay. This is maybe a little bit more expensive, guys. This is $22,000 for one ticket. But this is, I guess, a 3-day club suite, whatever. That is crazy. Maybe we'll have to go to slightly cheaper, Kevin, but you know, those are the poor ones. The real ones are around 12,000 American dollars. Yeah. So I guess this one here is, you know, yeah, 22,000. So that's Canadian. So that's like, is it less? Yeah, maybe it's like 15,000 American. Yeah. It's going to be so much fun though, guys. I'm super excited about it. So is there a Canadian one? Races. Here it is in Montreal. Okay, which was on fire like a couple days ago, which was insane. Anyways, that's a whole nother thing. So how much does this cost? Probably a lot cheaper. $3,000. Again, this I guess is just for a small one. All right, next year at the Canadian Grand Prix. Yeah, we'll get together at some point. Yeah, I'm gonna make it happen, guys, or I'm gonna die trying. I'll tell you that right now. That's for sure. All right. So, so I'm going to leave it here for today. So again, I guess very quick recap before Rolando just says something about changing topics again. Live streaming is still happening. We're going to take the rest of this week off to come back here again on Monday. And we're going to have a little bit more of a solid conversation for where it is that we're going to be going to the future. Hopefully have a look at the new podcast studio. And then maybe hopefully stick more into, figuring out what the frequency of this live stream is going to be. And just have more solidified plans on how to move forward with everything. So, and of course, we're still taking care of our clients. We're still doing web design as we're a business right now, but we're not going to be doing any promotions, no videos, none of that kind of stuff. And we're just going to be going with our existing clients. And if anybody comes through the door because they just know who we are or whatever, because we're still going to be podcasting and people are still going to kind of know the stuff that we do. If we do get clients that way and it makes sense for us and we like the project and we're going to be okay doing that, then so be it. And maybe if it gets to the point too where the podcast is doing well and people are seeing that we do web design or whatever, or that I do it, whatever, maybe that makes sense to keep that going on the back end and just hiring somebody to just take care of that for me and just use that as another asset that I'll have to be able to, bring in some more revenue as a whole. So that's where we're going to leave it. So I do appreciate you guys coming in. On your way out, if you want to click that like button, that would be great. I usually don't ask that. That feels really slimy saying that. Don't do it. Don't click the button. I was just trying to sneak that in there, and it's like I don't like asking for things like that. It's really weird. But have a good evening. Behave yourself and take care of yourself. But first of all, wash it. Okay, come on now, Rolando, come on. Yeah, Sam, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Appreciate you showing up. But yeah, I do apologize. We're just taking off here. But of course, we're going to be back. We're not going anywhere. We're just taking a little bit of time here to figure things out, and we'll come back with the podcast and like the brand newer and more improved live stream. So it's gonna be super awesome. So looking forward to it. Leo, bye. I already liked it. Well, you gotta like it at least 3 times. No. Can you maybe unlike it then re-like it? Does that help? Anyways, I do appreciate that. All right, guys. Again, thank you so much for stopping by and commenting. And Jen, great to hear you for the first time, even though you said you've been lurking kind of in the background, which I do appreciate. So hopefully, get to see you here more often. So Sam here, while Adum takes a break, I'll be streaming on Twitch for those who want to hang out. Nota Gilbert, username. I'm going to write that down. Are you going to be do you live stream every day? All right. Well, I'm going to take a look at that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for everything. As I was saying, I think I said it a million times. Pass the link on Discord. Yeah, that's actually a really good, a really good plan, because that's where we could kind of hang out and at least kind of have those discussions and just let everybody know where everyone's at, which is really, really cool. All right. Before I start rambling on again, have a great night. Thank you again so much for joining, and I'll be back here with a brand new live stream on next Monday. So have a great week. Until then, take care. Don't get into too much trouble, and we'll see you next week.